Let's start with the one thing that saves this show from being a total dumpster fire: the wrestling quality itself. Bell to bell, these performers went out there and did everything they could to make something special. Every suplex, every strike, every high-risk dive connected with the live crowd, and the energy was undeniable. Fans were locked in because the wrestlers were working overtime, dragging matches across the finish line despite the absolute nonsense cooked up by the suits in the back. But here's the kicker: you can't just rely on athleticism forever. Wrestling isn't just flips, kicks, and slams. It's about stories, payoffs, moments that matter, and that's where Wrestlepooza fell flat on its face. Take Jey Uso, for example. This man has been teasing a heel turn for what feels like 100 years. Week after week, glance after glance, subtle mannerisms that scream, "I'm about to betray someone." The crowd is eating it up, waiting for the turn, waiting for the betrayal. But what happens? Nothing. Nada. Zilch. It's like the bookers said, "Hey, let's dangle this carrot forever and see how long the audience sticks around." Guess what? Fans aren't dumb. They know when you're stringing them along. Instead of pulling the trigger and letting Jey go nuclear with a shocking heel move, we got more of the same, leaving fans deflated. You can't build tension and then never release it. It's storytelling malpractice. And speaking of wasted potential, LA Knight as the special referee should have been a license to print money. This guy is one of the hottest acts in wrestling. His charisma could power an entire city, and the crowd eats up every yeah, like it's gospel. So what do they do with him? They stick him in the stripes, give him a few moments of banter, and then nothing. No twist, no angle, no follow-up, just a glorified cameo. The people wanted LA Knight to matter in this story, to tilt the balance, to ignite chaos. Instead, he was set dressing. That's like hiring The Rock in his prime to stand in the corner and hold the ring bell. Waste of talent, waste of time, waste of opportunity. Now, let's talk about the booking decision that had my jaw on the floor for all the wrong reasons. Brock Lesnar squashing John Cena. What was that? Seriously, what was that? You bring in Cena, one of the most decorated performers in WWE history, a guy who has carried this company on his back, and you feed him to Lesnar in a glorified mugging. And for what? No storyline explanation, no long-term payoff, no justification. It's like they wanted to erase everything Cena ever accomplished. And I don't want to hear, "Oh, but Cena's been losing for years. It's part of the story." There's a difference between putting someone over and burying a legend. Lesnar didn't need this win. Cena didn't deserve this treatment. This was a burial on live television, and it killed the energy right out of the gate. Then we had Cody Rhodes defending his title against Drew McIntyre. Now, don't get me wrong, the match itself was fine. Cody and Drew are both workhorses, and they gave you the kind of physical, intense battle you'd expect, but it was predictable. Everyone knew Cody was retaining. Everyone knew Drew wasn't walking out as champion, and when you know the outcome before the bell even rings, the drama dies. That's the issue with safe booking. You protect your golden boy so much that the audience stops caring. Cody's reign is starting to look less like a hero's journey and more like a corporate checklist. Predictability kills heat, and that's exactly what happened here. On the flip side, Stephanie Vare versus Io Sky was the one singles match that delivered in every way possible. These two tore it down. Fast-paced, innovative offense, believable near falls, and a crowd that was with them every step of the way. This was the kind of match that makes you believe in the magic of wrestling again. Stephanie showed she belongs on the big stage. Io reminded everyone why she's one of the most gifted talents alive, and together they stole the show. If you didn't watch anything else from this card, go find this match. It was the saving grace of the night. But oh man, AJ Lee's return. Where do I even start? Fans have been clamoring for this moment for years. Social media has been buzzing. Nostalgia was at an all-time high, and expectations were through the roof. And what happened? Reality hit like a steel chair. AJ looked rusty, slow, and out of place. The moves weren't crisp, the timing was off, and the aura wasn't there anymore. The crowd wanted to love her. They really did. But even diehards had to admit she was exposed. The hype train derailed on live television. It's one of those cases where the fantasy of a comeback should have stayed a fantasy. Not every return is a fairy tale, and AJ proved that. And let's circle back to John Cena, because his booking deserves a separate burial. Since 2019, this guy has been on a losing streak that would make Barry Horowitz blush. Loss after loss after loss, to the point where his credibility is shot. Cena used to be the measuring stick, the guy you beat to prove you belonged at the top. Now, beating Cena means nothing, because everyone beats Cena. The company took one of its greatest assets and turned him into a jobber with name value. That's not how you treat a legend. That's not how you preserve a legacy. It's character assassination disguised as putting over the next generation. And to top it all off, what genius thought it was a good idea to open the show with Cena versus Lesnar instead of putting it in the main event slot? That's the kind of marquee match you build a card around. That's the headliner, the spectacle, the draw. Instead, they shoved it to the front, burned the crowd out early, and left the rest of the night struggling to follow. That's amateur hour booking, plain and simple. Whoever laid out that running order needs to be locked in a room with endless reruns of Raw guest host segments until they learn how to structure a card. The sad truth is that Wrestlepooza Wrestlepooza is symptomatic of a larger issue. WWE has lost the ability to deliver consistent storytelling that makes sense from start to finish. They set up moments that should feel massive, and then either pull back at the last second or botch the execution so badly that the payoff fizzles. Fans are left with cliffhangers that never resolve or outcomes that feel predetermined months in advance. Wrestling thrives on unpredictability, on the feeling that anything can happen. Instead, Wrestlepooza gave us a card where you could predict the winners just by glancing at the lineup, and in the rare moments where a surprise could have been pulled off, like Jey Uso turning or LA Knight causing chaos, the company froze. And let's not ignore how damaging this kind of booking is for talent. Drew McIntyre has been clawing his way back to relevance for years, fighting through injuries and stop-start pushes, only to be fed to Cody in a match that felt like a rerun. Drew isn't just a placeholder, he's one of the most credible heavyweights WWE has, yet his entire aura is chipped away every time he's used as the safe challenger in a title defense that everyone knows he'll lose. That kind of positioning does long-term damage to a performer's ability to feel like a true threat. Fans eventually stop buying into the idea that he could win, and once that happens, you can't flip the switch back on with a snap of your fingers. And speaking of aura, AJ Lee's return was supposed to be a generational moment, but the presentation showed how fragile nostalgia can be when reality doesn't live up to the dream. The truth is, she was never known for in-ring mastery. Her strength was character, charisma, and presence. Putting her in a high-profile spot and expecting her to deliver a technical showcase was setting her up to fail. Instead of hiding her weaknesses and highlighting what made her beloved, WWE exposed her. They could have booked her in a cameo role, a surprise interference, or even a heated promo exchange. That would have gotten the crowd buzzing without showing her limitations. Instead, we got a flat match that killed the mystique. That's the danger of chasing nostalgia. It rarely works the way fans imagine. John Cena's burial deserves even more heat because it's not just about him, it's about the precedent it sets. If WWE is willing to sacrifice their greatest star of the modern era to feed Brock in a meaningless squash, then what message does that send about how they treat their legends? It says that no one's legacy is safe. It tells fans that their emotional investment in a superstar's career can be tossed aside for shock value or a short-term pop. The tragedy is that Cena's arc could have been used to tell one of the most compelling stories in wrestling history. An aging warrior trying to prove he still has it, fighting against the tide, scratching for redemption. Instead, he's become the company's designated punching bag. That's not drama, that's negligence. And while we're here, let's torch the match placement one more time, because it's not just about Cena and Lesnar being shoved to the opener. The entire card felt like it was laid out with a dartboard. The pacing was chaotic, big matches underdelivered early, mid-card bouts were given awkward slots, and by the time the crowd got to the actual main event, the energy was gone. A well-structured card builds anticipation, peaks at the right time, and leaves fans buzzing at the end. Wrestlepooza peaked too early, dragged in the middle, and ended with a whimper. That's not how you produce a major event. That's how you burn out a live crowd and send viewers to bed early. But let's give credit where it's due. Stephanie Vare and Io Sky didn't just have the match of the night, they reminded the world what happens when you actually book talent to succeed. Both women got time to showcase their skills, the crowd was given reasons to care, and the match delivered. It wasn't complicated, it wasn't overbooked, it wasn't bogged down by endless interference or gimmicks. It was just two wrestlers proving their worth. And shocker, it worked. Imagine if WWE applied that same philosophy to the rest of the card. At the end of the day, Wrestlepooza is the perfect example of how you can't hide bad storytelling behind good wrestling. The performers did their jobs, the crowd showed up, the pieces were there, but the creative direction was so inconsistent, so short-sighted, so downright lazy that it dragged everything down. Fans want moments, they want stories, they want payoffs. Instead, we got teases that never went anywhere, legends treated like cannon fodder, predictable outcomes, and comebacks that should have stayed in the past. And I know some of you are going to disagree, and that's fine. That's what makes wrestling fun. We debate, we argue, we fight for our favorites. So tell me in the comments, did Wrestlepooza hit for you, or was it as much of a creative mess as I think it was? And while you're down there, make sure you're following our Instagram page, links in the pinned comment. The page is called Wrestling Revival. We post daily breakdowns, memes, news, and all the behind-the-scenes scoops you crave. If you're not on there already, you're missing out. Bottom line, Wrestlepooza was a night of great wrestling smothered by terrible booking. It was a show that could have been legendary, but instead will be remembered for its flaws. It's proof that until the bookers get their act together, no amount of in-ring brilliance can save a product weighed down by garbage storytelling. That's the harsh truth, and you know I don't sugarcoat it. So smash that like button if you agree, hit subscribe if you're sick of the nonsense, and keep the conversation going in the comments. Because this isn't just a breakdown, it's a wake-up call to the entire wrestling world.